When we talk about like leadership behaviors, and what roles leaders play in building trust, I think it's really important that we define the difference between transparency and confidentiality. We've mentioned transparency a few times in our discussion today, but employees can really get confused about transparency versus confidentiality. And they believe that when an organization or a leader says they're transparent, that they're entitled to know all the information about the topic, regardless of what that topic is, right? So to me, transparency is just sharing the why we're making decisions or changing processes, where confidentiality is protecting information like personnel issues or investigations or legal matters. And so I'm curious if you have any experience with that discrepancy, because it is a fine line, and if you have any examples of maybe where it kind of got blurred.
Yeah, I just know without trust, you run the risk of when you're trying to walk that fine line, that it'll spark the conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
But if you are in the positive in your trust account, people will say, you know what? I don't know all the information, but I trust fill in the blank. And so I'm going to choose to believe that this is all well and good. Now, where you get into trouble is when you're new to your role and you have one of these issues come up very early and you haven't had the opportunity to build as much trust. You have to recognize that it's going to be tough, and maybe you look for ways to explore that. Um, I was unfortunate. I had a lot of really difficult situations early in my tenure as chief that allowed me to demonstrate to my team that they could trust me. Um, I think without those, some of the other things that I had to endure later on in my tenure as chief would have been incredibly difficult. Early on, we had a couple of critical incidents. We had a military jet that crashed in the middle of our city. We had COVID. All of these things happened like literally in my first year. Um, and through all of that, I think I had the opportunity to build some trust. Using the example of the officer involved shootings or the critical incidents, I knew that everything I typed in an email to my team, like as far as an update, was open records.
Mhm.
You know, so um, we just made it a point to go visit every shift brief. I said, command staff, we are going to go, we're going to be there, and we're going to say, hey, there's some things we're not going to be able to talk about, and we're not going to write it all down, and we're not going to send a bunch of text messages around, but we're here in front of you at night because we want you to have the information. We want you to have it from us. We don't want you to be in the dark. And so what are your questions? Outside of that, of course, anytime an officer was hurt or there was, something that happened, I was always communicating with the team so that they're not getting their information from the news or through that rumor mill, but that they were hearing it from me. I just think, like anything, you have to be disciplined and consistent in your messaging so that they know that you are the source of truth and that they can trust that if there's something that can be shared, that they're going to get it from you.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's great.